This segment of DelmarvaLife is sponsored by For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center.
Exhaustion, feeling emotionally drained, absence of any positive emotions, all hallmarks of something that you may be familiar with, burnout, or maybe it's stress, or maybe it's how you describe depression. Well, the truth is, burnout and stress and depression are not the same things. And here to give us some insight on that very thing is Beth Ann Dorman, who is the president and CEO of For All Seasons. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Too.
Okay, so these are not the same things.
They are not. They're all related, but they're not the same things.
How are they different?
So when we think about stress and we think about burnout and we think about depression, stress is something that is in all of our lives. And it can be good and it can be bad. You know, there's some stress is good. Some stress can be motivating. It can help us to maybe get a project done, or maybe you'll hear someone say, like, I work best under pressure.
Yeah.
When stress becomes an issue is when it is something that you're living in consistently. If you are living in a constant state of stress, that is when that leads to us feeling like we are burning out. It leads to us feeling like we don't have the ability to show up in the same way.
Right.
Our cortisol levels, which is the chemical that's released in our bodies and in the brain when we are stressed, stays high. Our cortisol levels are maintained at a low level for a reason. And so as you are building stress and as it's sticking around, that's where we start to feel this extreme fatigue of burnout. And so we need to be mindful of how we are managing the stress.
Right.
And when we hear people say, like, I'm super stressed, are you super stressed, or are you moving towards burnout? You may, at that stage of the game, be hearing people say, like, I'm just super depressed.
Is that where you start going into depression?
Right. So depression is a little bit different because it sustains itself.
Okay.
And there isn't, somebody said to me last week, well, can you compartmentalize the three of them? And you really can't. It's kind of they can be all present at the same time, or they can lead to one another. Depression is really something that sustains itself for at least a 2-week period. It's something that you can't just snap out of. And it is a chemical imbalance in the brain. And we need to be mindful that when we are losing love of what we do, when we are unable to really find joy, when we're not able to do the things that we are doing in our daily lives, we may need to be in a position to say, this might be more than I'm stressed, or I'm just feeling burned out. Maybe there's something more happening.
So is it treatable?
Absolutely, it's treatable. And, one of the things that I say is it's really important to go and have a conversation with a professional, whether it's your primary health care physician, whether you're speaking with a therapist, to just simply say, here's what's happening, here's how I'm feeling, what are the next steps? Because it may be that you just need a qualified professional to help you sort through all of the things that you're feeling.
Okay, and be honest about it.
Absolutely be honest, because stress is manageable. Again, there is good stress and there's bad stress.
Right.
You might not be able to manage the environment of stress that you are in, but you may be able to manage the response to the stress. And that might be something that you need to work on. And that's where working with a therapist or working with your primary care physician to put some boundaries in place may be helpful.
So if I don't do that, does that mean that burnout is not very far down the road?
Absolutely. I mean, we can only live in stress for so long, and we can only continue to sort of put on this happy face and pretend like it's all good for a period of time, and then we are going to reach that place of burnout, because in the midst of this large stress that we are living in, we forget about self-care. We are not going to be getting good sleep. We probably aren't exercising as much. We might notice that we're snapping at family members differently than we have, or we're not as focused. So we have to sort of take that step back and figure out, how am I showing up differently? And pay attention to those little things that are different, so that we can recognize, is this stress? Is this burnout, or is this something more? And honestly, Jimmy, even just asking ourselves that question, if we are not showing up as our best self, simply taking that step back and saying, as I'm listening to them talk about this, what is happening? Am I stressed? Am I burning out? Or am I depressed? And just maybe then you'll be able to sort of set a plan that leads to whatever you might need.
We are out of time, so answer me this one real quick. Do you find that people try to bull their way through. I can get through this. I can.
100%, don't we all? Because we got it, right?
Yeah.
It's the we got it mentality. And
Right.
so it's really important to remember that we all experience stress. Part of moving through stress is being able to say, I'm not doing okay.
Right.
And leaning on someone and saying, hey, I just need a minute. But taking care of ourselves in the midst of all of the stressful time that we're feeling is super important.
There you go. It's that simple. Just got to be honest. Beth
Gotta
Ann
be
Dorman,
honest.
CEO, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful talking to you. All right, stick around. Delmarva Life will be right back.